Guys, what the f is wrong with my light? Ever since the release of FNaF 6 as well as the Fourth Closet, Remnant has been shown to be one of the most important parts of the lore of FNaF. Different stories, games, and books give different insight into what Remnant is, bringing up multiple different ideas, but in today's video we're going to be going over which idea is actually the correct one. What is Remnant? We'll be talking in this video about what Remnant is as well as what area of the series it is actually important in. We'll be going over the fun times, Michael Afton, the books, and a couple other things, so I hope you enjoy the video, and let's get started.
Make me a hero, someone to turn to and rely on their will to win. Make me a hero who puts up a fight both day and night. Oh.
FNaF 6 was our first introduction to Remnant, but in that game we didn't really get much of an idea of what Remnant actually was. Remnant is shown in FNaF 6 to be something that the Scooper injects into things. Remnant exists in Molten Freddy, and it's claimed that whatever the source of the Remnant in Molten Freddy is actually inside the Scooper. So what is this Remnant? The Fourth Closet shows us that the spirit of the missing children are in the Fun Times. Molten Freddy is Ennard, which is the conglomeration of the Fun Times, meaning Molten Freddy contains the spirits. Remnant in Molten Freddy is made from the missing children, but how do we know all this is how it works in the games? Henry's goal in FNaF 6 is to set all the spirits free. He tells Charlotte in his final speech that it's time for her to rest with the ones that she's carried in her arms. Charlotte is free in Happiest Day alongside the missing children, meaning they're all set free at the same time as we see in FNaF 3. Some people argue that Happiest Day happens in FNaF 3 and therefore the spirits can't be in the Fun Times. However, when Scott was asked which ending of FNaF 3 was canon, he said that the answer is interesting and complex, but he didn't answer the question.
This game was when things went a little bit crazy with like the mini games and stuff and the good ending and the bad ending. If you can answer this, which ending really happened?
I've given a lot of thought as to whether or not I should answer this question.
Okay.
And the answer is very interesting.
Okay.
You know? The answer is very interesting. The answer is complex.
Okay.
However, I'm not going to answer it because it's only going to cause strife. I mean, you see the kind of trouble that erupts, especially several years ago. The flame wars that would go on over Mangel's gender, something as simple as that. You know.
yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, people with torches and pitchforks. You know. No, yeah, I don't think I'm going to answer this one, I'm afraid.
Basically what that means is that both endings are canon. The bad ending is canon in FNaF 3 because the spirits weren't set free then, but Happiest Day still does happen at some point. So that all means that Charlotte still not being freed by FNaF 6 means the missing children weren't freed by FNaF 6 either. Henry in the ending monologue tells Charlotte,
"My daughter, if you can hear me, I knew you would return as well. It's in your nature to protect the innocent. It's time to rest, for you and for those you have carried in your arms. This ends, for all of us, in communication."
This confirms that the missing children are actually here, in the FNaF 6 location. With the Fourth Closet being one of the major releases in the series after FNaF 6, it's clear that the fact that it shows the original animatronics endoskeletons being melted together and infused into the Fun Times means that's what happens in the games. For those of you who don't know, the idea of the missing children being in the Funtime animatronics is named Molten MCI, and it's important to clarify that it's not that each child is in an animatronic like how it is with the original animatronics. The endoskeletons are melted together, so the spirits are fused together, meaning that all the spirits are in all the Funtimes. Candy Cadet's 3 stories all connect to how this works as well, each story showing a different aspect of how Molten MCI works. The one about the cats shows that it's the animal characters that are being put together. There's one where a woman has to pick which door of 5 to open, however, while she has all 5 keys, she can only use one, so she melts them all together into one key, but obviously this doesn't mean it's just a master key she can open all the doors with, so she just fails to save any of them, yeah. This story represents the fact that the endoskeletons are melted together into one thing. The final story, the one about 5 orphans being killed, tells us that it is the original 5 missing children being put together. There's also the Insanity ending, where Henry blatantly describes the events of the Follow Me minigames from FNaF 3 and confirms Molten MCI happens as an aftermath of Follow Me.
Small souls trapped in prisons of my making, now set to new purpose, and used in ways I never thought imaginable.
This is talking about how the original animatronics were made by Henry and William perverted his technology and used it to create the Fun Times, which he makes to kill, and Henry talking about the missing kids shows that they are the souls he sang are in the Fun Times.
He lured them all back to a familiar place, back with familiar tricks. He brought them all together.
This is him clearly talking about Follow Me. Luring them back to a familiar place is talking about the safe room, which is where the kids were lured to in the missing children incident, as we know from FNaF 3. The familiar tricks he's talking about are the facts that he lures them, like he did the missing children incident, and he is using Shadow Freddy to do so, and Shadow Freddy is a being representing all of William's malicious intent. Saying he brought them all together is referring to William melting the endoskeletons together and tying the spirits together, which is exactly how Molten MCI works.
Are they still aware? I hope not. It keeps me awake at night. I could make myself sleep, but not yet. Not until I undo what he has done and heal this wound. A wound first inflicted on me, but then one that I let bleed out to cause all of this.
The question of whether or not the kids are still aware is referring to the fourth closet, where the spirits, while still aware, lose some aspects of their memories because the fragments of their spirits are separated from each other, distributed among multiple bodies. Him saying he has to heal this wound means the missing kids have to be here, otherwise he's not healing the wound at all.
He set some kind of trap. I don't know what it was, but he led them there again. He overpowered them again. And he robbed them of the only thing that they had, again.
This is also blatantly describing Follow Me, and the fact that he says that William robbed the spirits of the only thing they had confirms that after Follow Me they aren't freed. So where are they? Everything else tells us that they are in the fun times.
I don't know how those tiny breaths of life came to inhabit those machines, but they will never find rest now, not like this. I have to call them all back, all of them, together in one place.
This entire insanity ending monologue is talking about the missing children, meaning that when he says he has to call them all back to one place, that would include the missing kids. He is saying that those kids won't find rest until he enacts his plan, meaning that, as I've been saying, they are here, and there's nowhere else they can be. Some argue that they're in the Rockstars, but that can't be true because the Rockstars are an optional buy. You can beat the game without buying the Rockstars, so they aren't a part of Henry's plan. And because of literally everything in the fourth closet, the only place they can be is in Molten Freddy. This is how the Remnant in the Funtime works. This is the first insight we ever actually got on Remnant, so what exactly is it if we base it off of this? If this was all the information we had about Remnant, then that would mean that Remnant is a metal that is haunted by spirits and melted down into a molten substance. However, Phasma Frights and Tales from the Beatsbox give us more insight into the topic. In the third Phasma Frights epilogue, we're introduced to Phineas Taggart, a scientist who studied powerful emotions, especially agony. He believes that agony is the most powerful emotion. However, in epilogue 10, there's a scientist named Dr. Talbert who studies Remnant. It's actually revealed that Talbert and Taggart are partners, so if one studies Remnant and someone else studies agony, wouldn't that mean that they are one and the same? Well, yes, but actually no. At the end of the final epilogue, Talbert explains what Remnant is and does, although he keeps it relatively vague. Quote,
"In non-scientific terms, it's like the metal is haunted. It's more complicated than that, of course, but it's similar to the way that water conducts electricity. Remnant is the mixing of the tangible with the intangible, of memory with the present. The people and things that are lost, it makes them almost real again."
End quote. When I first read this, I believed that it was saying that Remnant is in fact metal, but maybe it doesn't have to be a spirit in the metal, but it can be. So what I believed was that Remnant is any metal haunted by anything, a soul, an emotion, or fragmented memory like Into the Pit. Some believe that Remnant is only agony, but this isn't the case as the fourth closet has the entire spirits in the Remnant, so entire souls can absolutely become Remnant. However, what I didn't really take into account when I first read this was that the Remnant was being compared to electricity and metal, the water. Metal isn't an actual part of Remnant, it just conducts Remnant. So what Remnant actually is spiritual energy, but it's only really useful when it does have a conductor, of which metal is the best one. What that means is that basically all agony is Remnant, but not all Remnant is agony, as other emotions can also be involved in the possession, like love, which we know from the real Jake. And memories are also a huge part of Remnant, in some cases being the basis of it. An example of this actually comes from one of the newer pieces of content in the series, Somnophobia. In Somnophobia, a kid named Sam gets addicted to this thing called the Dream Sphere, which basically brings your thoughts to the forefront. It's basically like an analogy for drug abuse, and Sam gets addicted to it. He uses it so much, at first feeling energized by it, but at the end of the story his memories are basically being harvested by the Dream Sphere, and his emotion and energy are drained from him. It's kinda like Phasma, where different parts of you go at different points until the ending where your entire life is transferred into something else. Emotions, memories, and a soul are the three different things that are Remnant. The memories are basically what causes Sam to literally get harvested. Sam also describes the dream sphere as making him feel not real, but at the same time, very real, which connects back to Talbert's explanation of Remnant, where he states that people and things that are lost are made almost real again by Remnant. It also seems like the Remnant pendant in both Frailty and the final epilogue are possessed by a spirit. At the end of the final Phasma Frights epilogue, Larson asks Talbert what exactly possesses the pendant, and Talbert allows Larson to keep the pendant as he doesn't really need it anymore, and because it will help answer Larson's question. As Larson leaves, the pendant begins to sing. This seems to imply that it's an actual spirit contained in here. In Frailty, Jessica commonly speaks to her pendant, implying that the spirit of someone she knows possesses this pendant. William in the Fourth Closet explains to us that when spirits die, they follow the flesh and also the pain. This basically means that their agony is what binds them to an object. That's why the missing kids possess the Core 5, because they died in the suits. That also means that if the agony is still around, then the spirits must be as well. The agony has to be destroyed in order for the spirits to be set free. Henry also tells us this in the FNaF 6 ending.
This place will not be remembered, and the memory of everything that started this can finally begin to fade away, as the agony of every tragedy should.
It's funny that we kind of had all the pieces present immediately, but we didn't really put the pieces together until a book shows it clearly. It seems like in order to dispose of one's agony, they need to get retribution for their death. The bite victim can't be set free until getting revenge on Mike, which he does in FNaF 4. Cassidy, or whoever you believe the vengeful spirit to be, can't be set free until after getting revenge on William, which we see in Ultimate Custom Night. And the rest of the missing kids and Charlotte can't rest until their killer rests. Basically, what all this means is that the spirits still have to be present by security breach because William isn't freed yet. Now I hear you saying that Remnant burns in fire and the missing kids are therefore freed by now. But no, because Remnant doesn't actually burn in fire. The Insanity ending is what first brought on this idea of Remnant burning in fire, as the blueprints talk about Remnant and claim there is a possibility overheating will destroy it. In the Fourth Closet, when William tells Baby to heat up the Remnant more, she says he will destroy them. However, this doesn't actually mean Remnant is destroyed by fire. The Insanity ending actually says that it's only a possibility, and in the Fourth Closet, William flat out says that they can't be destroyed. So this, coupled with other evidence that Charlie, the bite victim, and the missing kids are still around, tells us that it doesn't actually burn in fire. Check out my video on the blob if you haven't already. What the hell is going on in my house right now?
5 minutes later.
Alright guys, so my house is burning down, but it's okay, because my Remnant will be fine, as we were just talking about. Yeah, so I'll just keep recording for you guys. Ignore the fire crackling sound in the background. If even just Charlie is still around, the rest have to be as well, because they're all freed and happy as day at the same time. So yeah, Remnant doesn't burn in fire. So yeah, I'll be fine guys, don't worry. Remnant also actually heals you and is able to bring you back to life. In Frailty, a kid dies and Jessica scrapes some Remnant onto him and he comes back to life. In Sister Location, we see Michael getting scooped and injected with Remnant. Scott himself confirmed that after all this, Michael's skeleton was removed by Ennard so that he could fit inside him, meaning all that is keeping him standing is Ennard inside. However, when Ennard leaves, Michael's body falls in on itself, because there's nothing keeping it standing. He also loses his eyes. However, seconds later, he stands back up and his eyes return. How does he stand up if he's just a flop of skin? Well, the Remnant regenerated his skeleton and his eyes. This also means that after all this, Mike still has organs, and after some time in a shower, he won't be a rotting corpse anymore. He won't even be stinky anymore. He can just be a regular dude again. Or, well, relatively. That means Mike being Vanessa's father is completely possible. Would explain why the CDs are in Mike's room, would explain Vanessa's last name beginning with A, and it makes sense narratively. So yeah, it's very possible. It's just up to you to decide whether or not it actually is true. It's the Remnant energy that regenerates you, and it's the Remnant that keeps you alive, but like I said earlier, Remnant is conducted very well by metal, and the metal in the Fun Times and the Remnant injected to Michael is molten metal. The problem with that is that he literally gets injected with molten metal into his blood, and that doesn't bode well. This molten metal is literally killing him, and let's just say that it's entirely up to the spirits inside whether or not to save him. But that's everything I wanted to talk about for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, then make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Let me know if you agree with my take on Remnant, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys!